The Lizard Cult has spread its gospel to the digital version of the board game Root in the Riverfolk Expansion. Today we're going to look at what strategies you need to thrive, build your gardens, and attract followers. Like so many factions in Root, the Lizard Cult is a challenge to learn, but we're here to help you on Legendary Tactics. Today I'll take you through 10 crucial tips and strategies you need to master this faction. Let's start with the most important tip. Number 1. Cards are power for the Lizard Cult. You should consider having at least 5 cards in hand before using any. Higher card draw lets you cycle your cards more, so you can get the ones you really need. Having a large hand here is the secret. Arguably, having more cards is more important than having Acolytes. Give yourself options by having different suits in your hand. Balance is what gives you flexibility. Remember that the Lizard Cult doesn't discard the cards they play. They just reveal them, and then they get to reuse them in a future turn. This faction needs to start scoring early on. If you fall behind, you'll never stand a chance. Create gardens and score them fast by discarding cards from the matching suit. If you can get 2 gardens of 2 suits, you can be scoring 4 points per turn. It can be hard for the other factions to keep up once you get rolling. Be warned though, you need to defend your gardens with warriors. Don't leave a garden completely undefended or you'll lose cards. And this is the exact opposite of tip number 1, what you need to be doing. By turn 3, you should be really starting to score. Tip number 3. Any crafting that earns you more cards is good. So think of cards like Stand and Deliver, for example. You can take a random card from another player. Better Burrow Bank allows you and one other player to draw a card at the start of Birdsong. Royal Claim is another great late game card because the Lizard Cult rules any clearing where they have a garden, and Royal Claim allows you to score 1 point per clearing you rule. Number 4. Diversify your gardens. You have the choice to either focus on a particular suit when you build your gardens, or you can diversify and do a smaller number of each suit. I suggest that you do 2 of each to amplify your card draw, rather than focusing too heavily. Balance is essential. To illustrate this, if you have 5 gardens in the same suit, you can score 4 points. If you have 2 gardens of one suit and 2 gardens of another, you also get 4 points. So for 1 less garden, you get the same number of points. Tip number 5. The Lizard Cult is allowed to have 2 gardens in the same clearing, so you really only need 1 clearing of each suit to grow your card engine. You can also defend them better if they're centralized like that. You also have the advantage of being able to pop up anywhere on the board, other than the keep, unlike the other factions. So this flexibility allows you to be a real nuisance to the board leader, and to also selectively choose where you appear on the map. Remember to target clearings with multiple build sites so you can compound your gardens there. If you love Root and thinking about strategy in this game as much as I do, we'd appreciate it if you could take a second to like the video. That really helps us out. On to number 6, Acolytes. If you can generate Acolytes in the early to mid game, that will compound your strength. The way to do this is to spread quickly, make enemies and become a target, and get attacked. When your warriors die in battle, you actually benefit. If all the other players ignore you, you won't generate Acolytes and you'll stagnate. Set up plays that force others to attack you, such as placing some gardens to rule a clearing and prevent others from moving. The downside to this is that you lose a card when they take out your garden, so be sure to protect them with warriors so you generate Acolytes. If you protect them with too many warriors, you likely won't be attacked too often. So try a skeleton guard if your opponents are avoiding you too much. If your opponents want to move or to build, they'll need to go through you first. In this way, you can create a gridlock on the board by making it hard for players to break through a wall of your units. Number 7. This is about Sanctify and Convert, and also about the Lost Souls deck. The Acolytes are what allow you to do conversions, which replaces enemy warriors with your own, and the Sanctify action allows you to replace their building with your garden. The Lizard Cult can be a real annoyance for your opponents, so use that when you negotiate. Convince people to discard what you need to influence the Lost Souls deck by offering to not convert their building. Sanctify is fairly costly to use, costs 3 Acolytes, so it should be used sparingly. Don't replace buildings for no good reason. Since this is so expensive, make sure that your play does maximum damage to your opponent. For instance, knocking out a Marquis recruiting station on the front line can really slow them down. The way you play this faction changes depending on the number of players in the game. With fewer players, you influence the Lost Souls deck with your discard even more. With many opponents, you need to negotiate with others to discard certain suits. So make a deal with them. Hey, if you discard rabbits, I'll go after the Vagabond instead of you. Number 8, the Outcast. During each turn, depending on what cards are played, the Outcast will shift between suits. The Outcast suit determines where you can start conspiracies. Your goal is to get the Outcast to become the Hated Outcast by being in the same suit twice in a row. Ties work in your favor. This lets you use 1 rather than 2 Acolytes to replace an enemy warrior. That's pretty powerful. You can also use 1 less Acolyte for conversion. This can be insanely powerful, as you can replace entire clearings if you get the Hated Outcast in play. This is a great way to sabotage the board leader. Cycle your hand to control the Outcast suit. If you're playing against the Airy, remember that when they go into turmoil, their decree moves to the Lost Souls deck. So this can really help you with the Outcast, so you may want to trigger their turmoil when the card balance is in your favor. Number 9, Wild Bird cards. These cards work differently for your faction. They're not wild. Instead, you sacrifice the card as a ritual. This takes one of your warriors and puts them into the Acolyte box. This weakens your board presence, so you don't want to do this too often. Better to earn an Acolyte in battle as you take out your opponents at the same time. Number 10, the mid to late game. Once you have your infrastructure up and running, you should consider crafting cards like Bake Sale just for the 3 victory points. This can be enough to boost you from 25 to 30 points for a strong finish. With strong card draw and lots of cards cycling through your hand, keep your eye out for 2 to 3 victory point cards. If you got value from this guide, please hit the subscribe button. We've also got strategy guides for many of the other Root factions. I'll link to our playlist now. And thanks so much for your time.